Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we begin with breaking news tonight. A police officer has been charged with manslaughter 3 months on from a crash in Launceston which killed a man and badly injured a woman. For more on this story, our reporter Tom Johnson joins us live. Good evening, Tom. What do we know about the person charged?
Good evening, Kim. Well, we know he's a 39-year-old male constable who's been charged with manslaughter, causing grievous bodily harm and driving offences after an horrific crash which killed a man earlier this year. Now, the crash happened on Patterson Street on January 6 when a police vehicle collided with a Mitsubishi Lancer, flipped and then struck 2 pedestrians crossing the road, one of which was a New South Wales man who was killed. The other, a woman also from New South Wales, who was hospitalised in a critical condition. In the immediate aftermath of the collision, Tasmania Police said the police vehicle went through a red light, but emergency lights were activated at the time and the officer was responding to an urgent call. Now, the Police Association has weighed in on this. They've expressed their condolences to the family of the man killed, but also say they're going to support the member through this upcoming legal process. Now, the officer in question, he's been stood down from duty and he will appear in court in July. Kim?
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. To the corona situation now, and authorities are closely monitoring 3 aged care homes in the northwest for any new positive cases. So far, just 1 resident and a worker have been diagnosed with COVID-19, but already reinforcements are being called in.
Hot on the heels of last week's federal reinforcements, more are heading to Tasmania. The new mission to support 3 northwest aged care facilities caught up in a coronavirus scare.
We are supporting the teams quite significantly, and the Australian government has mobilised additional healthcare worker and carers to support the work around each of these facilities. Authorities
monitoring Melaleuca, Eliza Purton and Coronia Park homes after a staff member who worked across all 3 tested positive. So far, just 1 resident at the East Devonport facility has been diagnosed with coronavirus.
Very rigorous monitoring of the health of all residents and all staff members. We call that active surveillance. And that means that should anyone develop the earliest signs of infection, residents or staff, they will be tested.
Tasmania's tally now sitting at 195 after authorities clarified a higher figure given on Sunday night was due to a manual count error. 7 more cases were confirmed yesterday, all from the northwest. The region now recording 107 diagnoses connected to the Northwest Regional and private hospitals, with progress underway to get the virus-stricken facilities slowly up and running.
So the emergency department has now seen around 40 presentations since it's reopened, and we have today started cleaning on the maternity section of the Northwest Private Hospital.
Meanwhile, authorities are considering testing arrangements after reports a Tasmanian recovered from coronavirus, left isolation, but then fell sick again and returned another positive test.
There have been a very small number of other reports that are similar, both in Australia and internationally actually. So that evidence is being considered by the Communicable Diseases Network of Australia. But if someone does develop symptoms again, we certainly will retest.
So we still have the broader measures of whether you are symptomatic or not, whether you've had coronavirus or not, please stay at home unless you're going out for an essential reason.
71 Tasmanians have so far recovered from the virus. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government is defending exemptions to Tasmania's quarantine regulations. Unions say some interstate construction workers have been allowed to skip the 14-day quarantine period after returning back from Easter holidays at home. They're calling for rules to be enforced to protect local workers.
The developer obviously wants their project finished and completed, and so does everybody else. But the 14-day rule must apply firmly.
These are all referred to the State Controller. It is their decision, it is an independent process. There are clear guidelines that need to be met.
Property developer Callis Group couldn't be contacted for comment. Fire tore through a housing construction site at Rokeby early this morning, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. Police are treating the blaze as suspicious, as they also investigate the theft of hot water heaters from the site.
picking up the pieces of what was soon to be someone's home. Contractors arriving to work this morning were greeted to the heartbreaking sight of a severely damaged unit they'd spent months working on, gutted by fire.
This is their life's work. They've been working here at this site for several months now, and they were nearing completion. So they were probably fairly excited to complete the project and move on. So they're really disappointed.
3 crews from Hobart and Rokeby rushed to the scene on Hart Place around 5:30 this morning, taking 20 minutes to bring the fire under control. The blaze causing damage to the interior of the house along with the garage, with the estimated bill expected to top $300,000. The unit was one of a number currently under construction, with firefighters able to prevent it from spreading.
Quick work by fire crews prevented that from happening. If not for the quick work of fire crews, then it is probable that we would have sustained damage to more than just one unit.
Police are treating the fire as suspicious, also investigating whether a number of hot water cylinders were stolen before ignition. Fire investigators spent the morning combing the scene, trying to piece together what happened.
Fire cause determination in Tasmania is a joint operation between Tasmania Fire Service and Tasmania Police, and they'll look at all of those factors.
An assessment of the structure will be made in the coming days. However, the TFS says it's likely the owners will have to rebuild.
Insurance assessors will move in and make an assessment about whether or not it can be repaired or demolished. I suspect, though, that it will be demolished.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
And Virgin Australia's woes will lead to fewer flights to the mainland, even if the stricken airline survives, according to an industry veteran. But Par Avion's managing director is confident a new airline will fill the void, even if the carrier goes to ground for good.
Featuring all of Sir Richard Branson's trademark flamboyance, Virgin first popped down to the state in 2001. Although initially lacking glitz and glamour, Launceston's check-in was little more than a tent, the carrier quickly became a popular rival to Qantas. But Par Avion's managing director Shannon Wells predicts flights to Tasmania will be scaled back, even if Virgin makes it out alive.
I feel there'll be a reduction in routes in some way. I think Tasmania is quite privileged at the moment to have flights to Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Virgin already announced that they're looking at doing consolidation of routes.
Last week, Virgin reinstated several routes after receiving government support, but Tasmania was left off the list. Yet, Mr Wells believes the 2-airline model is sustainable, predicting a new carrier will step in if Virgin folds, similar to how Virgin itself filled the void soon after Ansett and Kendall collapsed.
There are no seats available.
And so while someone can't just walk into Virgin and take the keys and start up with a blue tail rather than a red tail, there certainly is enough infrastructure, staff support, brand loyalty around to support people who just aren't Qantas.
One of the state's major tourism bodies hopes competition remains, saying an airline monopoly would damage the local industry.
We must have 2 carriers in the market. It drives down price. Tasmanians will remember the bad old days of $400 flights to Melbourne. We do not want to see us go back to that.
Even if Virgin joins the aviation graveyard, Mr Wells says the lure of flying will always attract new players.
It's a romantic industry, I guess I'd call it. And as an industry, we've got to sit back and reflect on how do we maintain these vital links to the community and around the world. And I think moments like this will give us a moment of pause, and there might be some sensibleness hopefully come out of this. But that being said, 10, 20 years down the track, I don't know what it's going to look like.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The Royal Hobart Hospital's K Block is finally online. The multi-million-dollar facility is being opened in stages, with the first patients to be admitted from tomorrow.
More than a decade of planning, almost 3 years of construction and numerous delays, K Block is open.
This is a great milestone for our whole health system.
The $689 million redevelopment at the Royal Hobart Hospital is opening in stages, with reception the first to switch on.
Patient admissions will be on track to open tomorrow.
All with the aim of improving operations at the hospital.
This is going to make a very big positive difference to our health system, now during a pandemic, but also we know to ensure that Tasmanians can get the care that they need to relieve pressure on the emergency department and to relieve access block that we have had at that hospital.
The state government says depending on the coronavirus situation, inpatient wards and services will open in coming weeks, boosting bed numbers by 44.
We always remember, though, that physical spaces and equipment are one thing, but we also need our skilled and experienced staff to be able to operate any particular new facility, bed space or equipment. So it's a balance, but it's great news that K-Block's opening.
The project has faced a string of setbacks, including water contamination and noisy air conditioning issues. They're yet to be fixed.
They're in the process of being rectified, but I would like to assure all patients and all staff that K-Block is safe. I will not put any patient or any staff member within a facility unless it is absolutely fit for purpose.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
Police are investigating a report of damage to a room in a Hobart hotel currently being used for quarantine. Travelodge says its team is working with local police in relation to the incident occurring at the Macquarie Street property. It described damage to the room as substantial. Police say they have no further details. The future of Temco's smelter in Bell Bay remains up in the air, almost 1 year on since a review into its operations was announced. Owner South 32 says it's continuing to review its options, which include divestment, care and maintenance or closure, but has faced delays due to the coronavirus. Around 300 staff remain in limbo since the review was launched in May last year. Its quarterly report shows manganese ore sales fell by 12% because of lower production and shipment delays while the port was in quarantine. The company's South African smelter has been placed into temporary care and maintenance due to the COVID-19 lockdown. Several streets in Launceston were blocked for around an hour this afternoon as crews worked to repair a damaged power line on Bridge Road. Police say a person suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The hunt is still on to find a mystery millionaire in Tasmania. Locals are being urged to check any tickets they may have laying around, with only 2 more weeks left to claim the $1.6 million Tats Lotto prize. The winning ticket was purchased at the La Trobe news agency in either late October or early November, but it wasn't registered. In Tasmania, Division 1 winners have 6 months to claim their prize directly from the lotto. After that time, they must apply to State Treasury for their winnings. The Tasmanian Netball League suspension has been extended until July. The competition had been aiming to resume in early May, but the evolving virus situation has forced the league to push back its tentative start date. The decision also affects local associations. The State League snuck in the first 2 rounds of the 2020 season before the pandemic halted play.
Good evening. I guess I'd better remember how to do this. What I do know, though, is we had about 3 out of the 4 seasons today. Rain, showers, wind and a bit of sunshine. Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport all 18 degrees. The high was 19 at Friendly Beaches. Flinders Island and St Helens 18 today. King Island, Smithton, Low Head and Grove 17. Ouse and Strawn 16. Lyoweeney just 9. A long mid to low level cloud band moved over us today and sits over the Tasman Sea. Speckled cloud replaced it over the state. Now, that frontal cloud band also clips the south of the mainland. Most of the country, though, is cloud-free, but there is some thunder activity off the central West Australian coast. Tomorrow, a series of cold fronts move over the water south of the mainland. High-pressure cells split by troughs over the continent as well. Winds west to northwesterly, 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the south. Swells at 4 metres in western and southern waters. A strong wind warning has been issued for all coastal waters along with the southwest lakes. Forecast for tomorrow, Hobart, partly cloudy and 17, 16 the high for Adventure Bay, maybe a late shower, a shower for Tarraleah and 12 the top. Launceston, showers increasing, 6 overnight, 16 the top tomorrow, 17 for Devonport, a windy day as well, showers for Bridport, 16 the maximum. 15 the high for Burnie, showery and windy, same for Strawn, 16 the top, Marrawar 16 as well. St Helens tomorrow, a shower or 2 developing, fine for most of the day though, 17 for Swansea, possible shower for Flinders Island, Whitemark 17 degrees. Wednesday, showers easing and contracting to the west and far south. A pretty windy day again. Showers in the west on Thursday, extending statewide in the afternoon and evening. Mainly fine over the east on Friday. A few showers elsewhere contracting to the west and far south during the morning. A possible shower for Perth tomorrow, partly cloudy and 24 in Adelaide, and fine, mostly sunny weather for the rest of the nation. Melbourne 20, Sydney 25, Brisbane 28. And after the inclement weather early, it's clear in Hobart, 11 degrees, Launceston 12 at the moment, 12 also in Devonport. And it's my duty to welcome to the news team, or actually welcome back to the news team, Kim Miller. Kim, we better tell everyone at home this is your first day of your probationary period at the station. I've got my scorecard here. How do you reckon you went?
Oh, perfect 10, don't you think? Definitely. We'll find out, I'm sure, on social media. Well, that's all your news for now. I'll be back with updates a little later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.